Have you ever looked at another woman's life and quietly wondered, what does she know that I don't? Maybe she isn't smarter. Maybe she isn't working harder. Yet somehow she seems to keep moving forward while you feel like you're standing in exactly the same place. Every day, another engagement appears on your screen. Another promotion, another dream vacation, another woman announcing she's finally starting the life she's always wanted. And without realizing it, you stop celebrating them because every new success you witness begins to feel like evidence that you're falling behind. The strange part is, no one ever tells you that you're behind. No one says it out loud. The feeling grows silently inside your own mind. You begin questioning your choices, your timing, your confidence, sometimes even your worth, and eventually occur. The question changes. It no longer becomes, why are they moving so fast? It becomes, what's wrong with me? But what if that question is completely wrong? What if millions of women are asking themselves the exact same question without realizing they're reacting to the very same psychological trap? Because feeling left behind is rarely about where you are. It's about the invisible race your brain believes everyone else has already won. Today, we're going to uncover why this feeling has become so common, why it feels so personal, and why escaping it has almost nothing to do with catching up. Before we understand the psychology, let's meet someone whose story may feel far more familiar than you expect. Let's meet Chloe. From the outside, her life looks completely normal. She goes to work, she replies to messages, she remembers birthdays, she smiles when someone asks, "How are you?" And almost every time she gives the same answer, "I'm good." But that's only the version the world gets to see. The truth begins much earlier, before anyone else is awake. Some mornings, Chloe lies in bed for just a few extra minutes. Not because she's lazy, because she's already exhausted by a feeling she can't explain. She opens her phone. Within seconds, someone is celebrating a new job. Someone else is posting engagement photos. Another friend is sharing a perfectly edited morning routine. Chloe keeps scrolling. She tells herself she's happy for them, and she really wants to be. But something quietly changes inside her. Without noticing, she starts measuring her own life against lives she only sees for a few seconds. By the time she gets out of bed, she hasn't accomplished anything yet, but somehow she already feels behind. This feeling follows her throughout the day. At work, she starts questioning whether she's doing enough. With friends, she wonders if everyone else has life figured out. Even during quiet moments, her mind whispers the same painful question. Why does everyone else seem to know where they're going? Here's what makes this so difficult. Chloe isn't comparing facts. She's comparing her everyday reality to everyone else's highlight reel. And the human brain was never designed to make that comparison fairly. That's where the real story begins. What Chloe is experiencing isn't weakness. It's a psychological pattern. Our brains naturally compare us with the people around us. Years ago, that comparison helped us understand where we belonged. Today, that same system is surrounded by endless screens. Instead of comparing yourself with a few people, you're comparing yourself with hundreds, sometimes thousands. Every scroll silently asks the same question. Am I doing enough? Am I successful enough? Am I beautiful enough? Am I late? Chloe never consciously asks these questions. Her brain asks them automatically. That's why this feeling is so exhausting. It isn't created by one bad day. It's created by hundreds of tiny moments. A photo, a promotion, a wedding, a vacation, a smiling selfie. None of these are harmful on their own, but together, They create the illusion that everyone else is constantly moving forward. Meanwhile, your own life feels ordinary. So Chloe starts changing. She celebrates less. She compares more. She becomes afraid to start something new because someone else already seems ahead. And slowly, comparison turns into self-doubt. Not because Chloe lacks potential, but because comparison slowly steals her ability to see it. The hardest part? Most women don't even realize this is happening. They simply wake up believing they've fallen behind. But Chloe hasn't discovered the deepest reason yet, because comparison is only the symptom. The real cause goes much deeper, and it begins with the expectations women quietly carry every single day. Comparison is only the beginning. What makes the feeling of being left behind so powerful is the invisible list many women carry without ever writing it down. Find the right career, stay healthy, look confident, be kind, be independent, be successful, never fall behind. Every expectation seems reasonable by itself, but together, they become impossible to carry. Chloe never decided to compete with every woman she sees. She simply learned to believe there was a timeline she had to follow. Whenever someone reached a milestone first, her mind translated it into one painful sentence. I'm running out of time. Notice something. No one actually said those words to Chloe. Her own mind filled in the blanks. That's what expectations do. They quietly become rules. Rules about where you should be. Rules about who you should become. Rules about how fast your life should move. The problem is, real life doesn't follow a single timeline. Some women discover their confidence early. Others find it after years of uncertainty. Some change careers. Some rebuild friendships. Some finally choose themselves after spending years choosing everyone else. Different paths, different timing. None of them means someone is ahead or someone else is behind. Chloe slowly begins to notice something. Every time she stops measuring herself against an imaginary deadline, she breathes a little easier. Not because her life suddenly changes, because the pressure finally starts to loosen. The question was never, why am I behind? The better question is, who convinced me I was supposed to be somewhere else? And once you ask that question, everything begins to look different. Chloe thought comparison was the problem. Then she started paying attention. Whenever someone shared good news, her first reaction wasn't excitement. It was pressure. Not because she wanted their life, but because her mind quietly translated every achievement into a deadline. Promotion? I should be there too. New relationship? Am I falling behind? A woman starting her own business? What have I done with my life? Notice what happened? None of those women ever told Chloe she wasn't enough. Her own mind created that story. Psychologists call this an internal narrative. It's the private story your brain repeats until it starts feeling like the truth. The dangerous part? Most of us never question that story. We simply live inside it. So Chloe decided to try something different. Instead of asking, "What's wrong with me?" she wrote down every thought that appeared whenever she compared herself to another woman. A pattern appeared. Every sentence began with, I should I should have figured it out. I should be more confident. I should be further ahead. I should already know who I am. That single word, should, can quietly steal years from your life, because every should is usually borrowed from somewhere else. Family, friends, social media, culture, or someone you admired without realizing you were copying their timeline. Here's the question Chloe couldn't stop thinking about. If these expectations weren't originally mine, why am I letting them decide how I feel about myself? She didn't have the answer yet, but for the first time, She had found the real mystery, and solving that mystery would change everything. In the next chapter, Chloe discovers where those invisible rules came from and why letting go of them is much harder than anyone imagines. Chloe couldn't stop thinking about that one question. If these expectations aren't really mine, where did they come from? She didn't find the answer in a book. She found it in ordinary moments. She remembered being praised whenever she was easy to deal with, whenever she stayed quiet, whenever she didn't disappoint anyone. Slowly, without realizing it, Chloe learned something dangerous. Being accepted felt safer than being authentic. As the years passed, those small lessons grew into invisible rules. Always have a plan. Never fall behind. Keep everyone happy. Don't make mistakes. Don't ask for too much. The strange thing is, no one ever sat Chloe down and taught her these rules. She collected them little by little, from conversations, from advertisements, from social media, from watching other people's lives, and after hearing the same message enough times. Her brain stopped treating it like an opinion. It became the truth. This is how hidden beliefs are formed. The brain repeats an idea until it feels familiar. And what feels familiar often feels true. That's why so many women carry expectations they never consciously chose. Chloe finally realizes something. She has spent years trying to become the woman she thought everyone expected, but she has rarely asked, what kind of woman do I actually want to become? That question feels uncomfortable because there isn't an instant answer. There is only silence. And sometimes silence is where real change begins. But Chloe is about to discover another obstacle. Even after recognizing these invisible rules, letting go of them is far more difficult than she imagined, because the fear isn't just about falling behind, it's about what might happen if she finally stops living for everyone else's expectations. Knowing the truth doesn't automatically set you free. After everything Chloe had discovered, she expected to feel lighter. Instead, she felt confused. The next morning, she opened her phone again. Within minutes, the comparison returned. Not because she had failed, because the brain always returns to familiar patterns before it learns new ones. Chloe caught herself thinking, she's already there. I'm still trying. For a moment, she believed the old story again. Then she paused. Instead of accepting the thought, she became curious. She asked herself, is this a fact? Or is this the same story I've been repeating for years? That single question slowed everything down. Most women don't stay trapped because they're weak. They stay trapped because familiar thoughts feel safe. Even painful thoughts can become comfortable, simply because they're familiar. Your brain prefers certainty over change. That's why leaving old beliefs behind can feel strangely uncomfortable, even when those beliefs are hurting you. Chloe began noticing something else. Every time she stopped comparing herself, she noticed things she had ignored for years, the skills she had built, the challenges she had survived, the quiet progress nobody had applauded. And for the first time, her attention wasn't on another woman's timeline, it was returning to her own. And that's when a deeper realization began to appear. Maybe feeling left behind had never been about falling behind at all. Maybe it came from looking everywhere, except at her own journey. But one final discovery is still waiting for Chloe, and it's the discovery that changes the way she sees herself forever. Real change rarely arrives as one dramatic moment. For Chloe, it happened through small decisions. One afternoon, she noticed herself reaching for her phone, almost automatically, almost out of habit. She stopped, not because social media was the enemy, but because she wanted to understand what she was searching for: validation, reassurance, proof that she wasn't behind. That question stayed with her all day. Later that evening, Chloe opened an old notebook. Inside were goals she had written years ago. Some had changed, some no longer mattered, and some had never truly belonged to her in the first place. She smiled, not because she had achieved everything, because she finally realized she had been chasing goals she never consciously chose. This is something many women experience. Sometimes we don't lose ourselves all at once. We lose ourselves one expectation at a time, one comparison at a time, one "I should" at a time, until one day we can't remember what we actually wanted. For the first time in a long time, Chloe wrote a different list. Not a list of things she needed to prove, a list of things that made her feel alive, learning, creating, laughing with people who felt safe, protecting her peace, growing at her own pace. Nothing on that list needed anyone else's approval. And something unexpected happened. The feeling of being left behind became quieter. Not because the world had slowed down, but because Chloe had finally stopped measuring her worth against someone else's timeline. But before this journey ends, there is one final truth every woman deserves to hear. And it may completely change the way you see your own life. Before you click away, don't answer me. Answer yourself. What if the only reason you feel left behind is because you've been measuring your life with someone else's ruler? Think about that. Not tomorrow, right now. If social media disappeared for the next 30 days, if nobody announced a promotion, an engagement, a new house, or a perfect life, would you still believe you were behind? Or would you finally hear your own voice again? Because that's what happened to Chloe. Nothing magical happened. She didn't suddenly become richer. She didn't wake up with a perfect life. The world around her stayed exactly the same. The only thing that changed was the story she kept telling herself. Instead of asking, "Why am I so far behind?" she began asking, "What kind of life actually feels meaningful to me?" And that single question gave her something comparison never could: peace. Maybe that's the real goal. Not to arrive before everyone else, but to stop abandoning yourself while trying to keep up. So now, I want to leave you with one final question. When you are 80 years old, will you regret moving at your own pace? Or will you regret spending your whole life trying to keep up with people who were never living your life in the first place? Take a moment. I genuinely love to read your answer in the comments, because someone reading your words might realize they're not alone. And if today's conversation helped you see yourself a little differently, make sure you subscribe, and we'll explore the hidden psychology behind the thoughts, emotions, and patterns that quietly shape so many women's lives. Until next time, be a little kinder to yourself. You are not behind. You're simply writing a story that was never meant to look like anyone else's.